Hey everyone, and welcome. My name's Carlo Libertini. We are going to be having a lot of fun today. You ever wished that your DAW of choice, whether it's Pro Tools or Studio One Pro or Logic, had more flexibility in workflow advancements, routing audio, little quick fixes, if you will? Well, SigMod is the answer. The great folks at NUGEN Audio have come up with a wonderful application to help advance your workflow with this one little plugin. Let's get started. Now here I have a small demo of a guitar track, which I just love the sound of this track, so I thought I'd use a couple bars. And what I did is I inserted SigMod here. Now you can put it anywhere in your signal chain, but I have a couple of presentations set up for us to cover some of the new features. Basically the way it works here is what you're seeing on the stereo track, for example, it does work in mono tracks now, is here's the signal path from left channel to left speaker, right channel to right speaker. And if I was to play this, you would just hear your straight audio as it is on your track. Now, this is the cool part. When you come down here to the settings tab, we can now begin to manipulate the audio within that track like never before. For example, here in the input stage, you can change from left-right to mid-side to right-left to side-mid. Already it's pretty amazing. I'm going to keep it on left to right. Here's our in and here's an out. Now, anywhere in between that signal flow path, we can now insert any one of these cool modules. There's muting capability, solos. There's also tap, phase. You can invert the polarity. Delay compensation, who doesn't like that? Crossover frequencies adjustments, you could send different frequencies of a source track to another track for independent editing, all within this one plugin. Trim, protect, which is like catching overs. When the audio gets too loud, you can have it instantly mute. That's a great feature right there. Mid-side processing, mono, and the new split feature. So to create a unique signal chain, it's as easy as this. Let's say we wanted to insert, let's say we wanted to go to a mute solo, and I wanted to add, let's say, some protect, just to get started, and then go back. Now what you see here are these modules, controls are now inserted in line with our signal flow. So if I wanted to mute a channel, there's two ways now. I could just select the target input like this, or right here, I can break the signal flow chain. Here I'm muting the left side, muting the right side, and that also works conveniently like that. And I can link them now. So now I have a handy mute function. Oh, but it gets better. For example, here we inserted a limit control. What this is going to do, for example, is set a volume limit. If it ever exceeds this value I'm inputting here, the audio will stop itself from playing, thus protecting your speakers and your hearing. See? Just like that, it went over. And from within the plugin, you have settings. For example, I could set it for a 2-second pause. And let me adjust the audio a little bit. And as I bring it down and it crosses the threshold, it automatically mutes it for you. So hopefully you're beginning to see how SigMod and some of these included modules can be a benefit to you. I have an automatic protection here from too much loudness, if you will. And that's just one example. Now, if I come back here, I could actually cancel any of those modules and start from scratch. So you create your own signal flow. You can choose anything you want, and you can even move them around, and you can reorder them like this. And you can have as many as you want. Look at that. I'm creating this whole signal flow with all of these right here. And the way that it elegantly handles signal flow within these tracks is such already a benefit to workflow, I feel. Because if I just wanted trim or a phase, like you would perhaps on a professional hardware analog console, you can see that in most DAWs we don't have trim and polarity here. So you could just use SigMod to replace what's been missing in some of those features that you might be used to working with in more hardware consoles. And you could go on and on and on. Also, it comes with a lot of really great presets. Let me go back here and let's start with some of these presets. You can scroll through them, and the presets are a really great way to expose you to different ways of creating not only signal flow, but maybe more utilitarian ways to use SigMod. This one is called multiple options. And from here, you can see that we've got a few to choose from. Left, right, operated, dual mono, VST. Another thing, and perhaps we'll do this in a moment, is SigMod includes a wrapper for you to use VST plugins within, for example, Pro Tools here, which only uses AAX. For that benefit alone, I think that's really cool because you might have some favorite VST plugins you're working with that came included or you purchased from other vendors. Leveler, mid-side solo, phase, DC check, switch mid-side to left-right, and vice versa, obviously, left-right to mid-side. Make it wider, side ambience, mono bass. Let's try this one. Look at this. See, we installed a crossover, and you set the frequency here for the crossover right there. And this also includes, when you buy SigMod, what's called receive. It allows you to put the receive module on another track so SigMod can reference the audio from the receive module and tell the SigMod module how to behave. That's all included with this one SigMod. So it's called receive. And you can name the receive module if you put it, let's say, on a bass drum or a bass guitar track. You can name it bass receive or kick receive. And then you could have here, SigMod will speak to the receive module and then apply it to referencing that audio within the SigMod plugin here. So it has plugin communication from track to track. Another thing that I think is a real cool workflow advancement. And speaking of cool workflow advancements, why don't we try something fun here? Let's go back to, I have a user setting here, default, that I created myself, which gives me a blank slate here. And that here is under the user section. This is the installed presets, and this is the user presets here. All right, so it's just a blank slate. Let me bring in another example here and show you what I'm doing. Now, here you can see we have added the new split module. Split is absolutely amazing. I'm going to show you how to create this workflow right now. Let me mute this one and let's get started. So I will open this up, come up to my settings, and let's choose the new split module. Now what split does is it can allow you to split the left and right stereo signal and process each side independently or together if you wanted. Now think about the potential already right there. Let's say you wanted to do some EQing in one ear or just send an effect in another ear, all within one cohesive stereo track. This new split module alone is worth it and can do it every time. Now I'll come up to the plus sign and let's choose insert. And from stereo, I'm going to go to dual mono. And this will allow us to create different kinds of editing on each separate left and right channel. And there we have it. So here's a new split module. And you can see that the signal flow here from left will run into an insert. Yes, you can now insert plugins right here within SigMod. Open up the gear icon. And when you first do this, it's going to ask you to scan. It's going to scan your plugins for compatible ones. And as I mentioned before, to circle back, it has a built-in VST plugin wrapper for you to use in instances like this here in Pro Tools. And you could choose from any one of the effects depending on what it is you're looking to do, whether it's an EQ or an effect at any time. And you can insert those effects. I'll show you how. Let's say I wanted to do let's pick something here. Let's do something really fun. How about a guitar stomp 2? All right, and there. And to open this up now on the left channel, if I turn this on, you'll see the signal flow is now piped into that insert and then out the left channel. And to see that insert, it's right here. And I'm going to put in an effect. I'll do a flanger on this one. Now, when I play the audio back in my left channel, all within a cohesive stereo track, I'm now putting a flanger on my left channel. Here. Can you hear that? It's flanging. Here's without. Dry signal and flanging. And let's do the same now on the right channel. Let me activate the right channel, turn it on, and let's put an insert on there. Let me go to the same, and let's put another effect here on the right channel. Hopefully you're beginning to understand how absolutely cool this is. I'll put a reverb here. And now let's solo the right channel. Here we go. Now we have reverb. Here's without, and here's with. So the new split module is allowing me to take a cohesive stereo track and process the left and right channel individually. It doesn't have to be effects. It could be EQing, it could be compression, it could be anything at all that is successfully scanned within the plugin here and analyzed. Now let's play them both. So now I added a flanger to my left ear and reverb to my right ear. And you can blend them both with the wet dry that's also included up here for each channel within SigMod. Let me bring the left channel down a little bit, the wet dry. Let's bypass it. This is the original. And let's hear the wet. Ready? Isn't that cool? This is one example of what we could do here. All right, let me bypass that and let's try another little fun trick. I want to show you another advantage here where we can do some mid-side work. In this example, what I did now is I placed SigMod right here on my insert channel, and I added the mid-side module, which is right here. And you can see it's now converting my left-right stereo right here. You could turn mid-side on and off into a mid and a side. The left would be mid and the right would be sides. Then, following that, we can input a effect of your choice. It would help if the effect obviously has separate controls, like down here for left and right. I can activate in separate controls for manipulating both the left and right side, like this mani delay that we're using in this example. So I went from left-right, converted to mid-side in SigMod, put a left and right controllable effect next in my insert chain, and then I inserted SigMod again to go from mid-side back to my left-right channels. And what this is going to allow me to do is treat the left channel as my center now, and the right as my sides. So I'm going to put my effect now on left, and let's solo this. You hear the delay? That is what's going to be in the middle now. I'm taking the summation of audio in the middle, and I'm simply applying delay to it. And if I switch to the right side, this is what's going to be played in the right side. We could have different. So now I can have different delay settings for the center and the sides in this example. Let's bring it all in. And let me put this back on stereo. Sorry, here we go. All right, I have to put it back on stereo. So now we're going to have the left and the right side processed in mid side and then some back to left right. And you can still control them, obviously. So in this example, you can hear how we have multiple delays going on. I know it's the process we're talking about, but that's the power and flexibility that SigMod can offer you today. And this is just a small, quick look into some of the most powerful new features that they've added here. So let's go back to SigMod, of course. And there we go. The best way, of course, is to find out for yourself. It is a flexible tool that allows you to introduce more powerful workflow advancements and creativities, giving you an edge in your mixes today. Let's find out and try it out for yourself. Next up, we are going to take a look at Paragon by NUGEN Audio. Paragon is a convolution reverb that behaves a lot like a traditional reverb, but does everything you wanted and more. It's really intelligently thought out and super capable. Now, I've got an acoustic guitar here that I loaded because I think acoustic instruments really lend themselves to reverberation quite a bit. Here's what we're starting with. There. Now, I have Paragon right now on the drums and a lot of the rhythm elements here. Let's solo one of the lead guitars, the acoustic guitars here, and let's take a listen to what we have. Now, the effect is just so beautiful. Here's without. Here's with. Now, when I say flexible, I mean this is super flexible. One thing I want to point out is we're using the new version 1.3, and there's obviously some really great updates. Now, Paragon comes in a lot of different styles and flavors. You can do everything from mono, stereo, up to 7 point something for Atmos. I just think it's really flexible. One thing I love, though, is right here in the top left corner is the new compact mode. When I switch between full parameters to compact mode, you can see the couple things that we don't need to see in compact mode would be, for example, the mic distance or the modulation effects here. Watch when I switch to compact mode. What this is giving me is basically the most important parameters. For example, I often love to start with my high pass, low pass here. Perhaps you don't want any reverberation under, let's say, 160 hertz, because you don't want to build up any reverberation mud, because that can happen too. Well, here you can roll that off. So this gives you a nice, easy, compact way to see the important parameters and get to them quickly. But if you're like me, I love seeing the whole full feature here, which you can also extremely resize to any resolution you want. This is also a nice workflow feature because with today's modern computers, we have higher and higher resolutions. Like 4K is becoming an industry standard these days. Well, don't worry, NUGEN's got your back. It's completely resizable. Compact mode and completely resizable. They got it. Now, another thing I want to talk about, as we addressed before, was the mic distance. This is a really amazing approach to contouring how your audio will fit in a mix like this, for example, because you can change and create more of the room into the microphone. Let's do an example of that. I'm going to bring the mic distance as close as possible. Let's go to 0% here. I hear a lot of early reflections there, and let's begin to adjust it. So you can hear it's like moving the microphone in this room to reposition itself. I think that's amazing. You know, in the early days when we had actual physical rooms to create reverb, some still do, I appreciate that. You know, you'd go in there and you could tweak the microphone a little bit, the kind of microphone and the position in that echo chamber to create the echo effect you're looking for. Well, this is a different variation on that. This works with distancing to introduce more of that space, and it'll also affect the early reflections too. I recommend you definitely play around with that. Let's try a different preset here. Let me open up our preset browser. Another thing I love about NUGEN is that they include so many brilliant sounding presets to help you get started and jumpstart your creativity. Now, you can see a couple of these I tagged with a little heart here as favorites of mine. And you can do that at any time just by selecting them. Let's go to add warmth and choose OK. Now we added this preset. It does add a little bit of warmth. What do you know? Now we can scroll through the presets, obviously, forward and backward with these arrows here. This is a perfectly fine way to get started. Why? Because, hey, like I said, these presets are extremely well thought out. If I'm playing this back in conjunction with other instruments, let's do that as an example. Let's solo our drums and just the acoustic guitar. And let's fit it in the mix with some presets. Kind of like that one. Now, I mentioned this is a convolution reverb. It has included a lot of impulse responses, and we haven't even got to that yet. What I want to show you how quickly and easily you can dial in a tone that you like. Now, I like Bright Room. Let's actually go ahead and start conforming this. Now, if you look at this graphical user interface, you have left and right. You can solo each side. For example, if you wanted to hear just the reverberation effect on the left here, solo it. Here it's being casted in the left ear. Let's do the same for the right ear. It's kind of a neat effect, right? Because remember, we're working with a solo instrument here. We've got one microphone in front of one acoustic guitar. That's going to a stereo version of Paragon here. So we're actually kind of almost stereoizing this instrument. Yes, you can play with the location, of course, but you know, in this example, I have it right up the middle so we can hear the full left-right stereo mix. All right. Now, what I was talking about earlier, let's fit this in the mix a little bit better. Let's start with my high pass, low pass. Sounds very jangly and nice right there, right? Nothing under 1.4 kilohertz is sending to the reverb. And this would be full frequency. You can hear some muddy buildup already, right? So let's slide this up till it fits in good. And you stop when it feels right. Now, of course, there would be other instruments here like vocals, bass guitars, actually. Let's bring in a bass guitar and see how that's jiving with this. Here we go. Ready? There, see, I tweaked the filter a little bit higher. Went to about one. Yeah, let's leave it at 999 hertz. Sounds great. All right, and let's talk more about some of these parameters. So you can add brightness, which you see I've got very high here. Make it sound a little bit intimate and warmer, or very bright. You can see when I increase the brightness, it's actually increasing the tonality of the reverberation brightness overall from left to right. Let me adjust my mic distance. And the size, I'll bring it down just a little bit. I like that. Still, if you exaggerate any parameters in any plugin, you step into the realm of creativity. I want to keep it a little bit more real and sincere to the acoustic instrument that we're working with. Now let's talk about impulse responses here. Let's just reset it, go to big room like that. Okay, now we're working in the main window. Next, I'm going to switch to IR mode. This is where you can begin to work with impulse responses. Now you got a lot that are included here. See under reverb model, you get all these impulse responses. Let's try some of these. Let me go to stairwell. I'm going to solo the acoustic guitar. Let's solo the acoustic guitar. That's amazing. Sounds like a stairwell, doesn't it? Let's try another IR. Let's go to Glass Diner. How about church? Love that. Love it. Here in the top right is a little ping. It's a little tip for you. This will ping a small, quick noise that'll trigger the reverb, so you're only hearing the reverberation and not any of the melodic content from instruments. Okay? That's right here in the top right. All right. And it also includes some test sounds. Under music, it comes with some guitar, actual wave files for you to audition, bass drum, harmonica, some singing, and even some Foley if you were using this for post-production work. All right. Now, here under modifiers, let me go to reset. You can reset any of these here at all. Now, you can modify the amplitude curve of the reverberation and the decay. And all you need to do is select in here and work with the nodes. Isn't that amazing? You can create several nodes and you can move them around to make unique, very, very unique style of the effect of the reverberation. Let's hear this. I'll exaggerate it. This is the amplitude of it we're working with. And it's relative to frequency. So you can adjust the amplitude of anything below here. We could do a nice slope like this and say, yeah, I don't want much reverberation in this frequency zone, but I want a lot up here. Then you can begin to do that just like this. You're working with amplitude and the amplitude of these frequencies. And then at any time you can just reset the value like this and decay. Now, why is this important? This is important because NUGEN Audio has put such control into your hands when it comes to not only creating reverberation, but tone shaping it. Because reverberation can build up and create mud in your mixes, and you really don't want that. So, and this should be important to you because the better you can craft the reverb, especially when you start bringing it in context with other instruments, the better your mixes are really going to sound. Now, under decay, we have the same kind of setting. You can move it around and you can increase the Q width relative to the decay time and the frequencies. Let's play with this a little bit. Now, what Paragon's doing, it has a very unique resynthesis method because it doesn't use time stretching to adjust the decay. What it's doing is it actually has a very proprietary algorithm built within the plugin to maintain that most pristine effect of the reverb that you want. So it's not using generic time stretching. It has a proprietary algorithm built into this to give you exactly the best results every time. That is NUGEN Audio, and that is Paragon. And you can reset this too at any time. So let's add a node here. Let's have a little fun. And let's bring this down a little bit here. And let's increase this node a little bit here and bring it up a little bit here. And let's hear our effect. Let's work with the amplitude now. I like that. And there you have it. So my best advice is to always dive right in, get started, and have fun. And thank you for watching.